From the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel, this is a severe weather alert.
Wait.
All right, it's currently 9:44 in the evening. Fred Gossett here along with Chase Wilson in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center. We now have a tornado warning in effect for north central areas of Lincoln County, Tennessee. So we're going to do some nonstop weather coverage here until this either weakens or we get the warning expired. This is a new tornado warning in effect until, what was the expiration time on that, Chase?
10:30.
Until 10:30. This does include Fayetteville in areas to the north. We have the rotation back here off to the south of Petersburg by a few miles. Let's go to storm relative velocity. And yeah, that has strengthened. And that's an organized rotation here that's just off to the west of US 431 by a few miles. It's northwest of the Howell community, and that's dropping off to the southeast. They've been moving at about 30 miles an hour here. So let's go ahead and do a storm track. With times of arrival, we'll drop this southeast at 30 miles an hour just ahead of the rotation. All right, times of arrival for the rotation. This is not for lightning. This is not for wind. This is not for hail. This is for the potential tornado that's developing now. This is a time of arrival for Howell at 9:53, Belleville, Tennessee at 9:57, Booneville 10:07, Mulberry 10:09, and Kelso at 10:13. I will tell you, previously, while this was back in the far northeastern areas of Giles County, Tennessee, there was not a warning on it, but we have seen evidence of a weak debris signature on our X-band live radar when it was back in far northeast Giles County, Tennessee, and also from the UAH Armor radar showed signs of a weak debris signature as well. So this has had a history of producing at least small, very brief, short-lived tornadoes back farther to the northeast. And it may be getting ready to do that again if it isn't now. The rotation has tightened up again. Again, this polygon here includes Fayetteville up to Howell, up to Petersburg, Belleville, Booneville, and the Mulberry areas, and that's dropping off to the east, southeast at about 30 miles an hour. We'll zoom in tighter here near and just ahead of circulation. It's right over the Blakeville area and moving in right now. Let's go to correlation coefficient and make sure we're not missing another debris signature. It's not lowered really enough to get your attention too much. Let's go to Storm 1 and do the high resolution, the raw CC. It's the Storm 1 menu.
Oh, yeah.
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 So it'll be a higher resolution version of this.
I'll do that for you. 1 second. Oh, well.
It may be Storm 2, but I think it's Storm 1. Power in Storm 1 is the menu.
There it is.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so wanted to make sure just with higher resolution data, that's not the case. I don't have a debris signature there now, but that is a tightening rotation, and it is in an environment with a little more wind shear, and the storm has had a history. So if you're in this north central part, we can go back to storm relative velocity now. If you're in this north central part of Lincoln County, Tennessee, what you need to be doing now is going through your tornado safety plan. If you have a basement or storm shelter, that's the safest place to be, but you don't have to be underground. Small interior room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows, something like a hallway, a bathroom, or closet of a site-built structure. Can't be a mobile home. It has to be a site-built structure built onto a foundation. Get away from windows, cover your head and neck with something sturdy to protect yourself from flying debris. And if you have enough time, if you're right here at the rotation and really don't have much time, it would be better just to hunker down as you can, since we're not talking about something large and overly intense. But if you're out a couple miles away from this and you have time, get out of mobile homes, get out of vehicles, and head towards sturdy structure. This is US 431 that runs from Fayetteville up to the Lewisburg area. You have South Fishing Ford Road here that runs northwest. You have the Blakeville area right here. This is Fuss Hollow Road. That's your area of rotation. It's not as tight as it was on the previous scan, but it could come right back and intensify. That's the Bidwell community right there. Howell is down at the bottom of the screen. Over the next 5 minutes or so, that's where this threat is immediately. It's not as tight as what it has been on the past couple scans. This may be something that just comes and goes off and on here because we're not expecting long-lived circulations. This isn't a setup tonight that favors a tornado threat. What this is a situation where you have a single storm that interacts with a boundary from previous storms, or it interacts with terrain, and then it does something that the large scale environment doesn't really fully support, but the smaller scale makes it less impossible to happen. And that's what we've had here in Lincoln County, Tennessee, with the circulation tightening up. It's north of the Fayetteville area right now, but we'll see how the storm tries to dive off to the southeast, or if it makes more of a southeast turn. We'll back up the radar a little bit to show a larger view here. Fayetteville is the south end of the screen here. Here's the Mulberry area right here. That is Tennessee Highway. That's 50. 50?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't read the road sign. It was a little small there. Here's US 64 that runs east to west through Lincoln County. 50 is what runs from Fayetteville up to Mulberry. Eventually, that's going to be the road that this rotation crosses if it holds together. And extrapolating out that track, it would likely be very close to the Mulberry area at the end of the polygon. It's also got to cross 231. Fayetteville is where 431 and 231 split back apart. You know, they come together in the Huntsville metro area, then they run cosine together north through Madison County, Alabama, through southern Lincoln County, Tennessee. Once they get to Fayetteville, they split back. 431 is what runs to the northwest. 231 is what runs due north. It's going to cross both of these U.S. highways here and then cross near Mulberry on Tennessee Highway 50 over the next 15 to 20 minutes. I can't tell you there's a tornado there, but a tornado could develop at any minute, especially if the rotation tightens. And I do think this has had a history of previously producing small, short-lived tornado activity, especially back in the northeast Giles County. I think it was a situation where it was already down before it showed up on radar, and then it was going away as it first started showing up on radar. Because in these environments where you're not expecting long-lived intense supercells, sometimes the rotation doesn't start up in the clouds and then work its way down. Sometimes that rotation starts on the ground and then gets absorbed up into the storm. And like I was talking about on the last update, if that's what's happening, you're not going to be able to warn ahead of time for that. And I think that was the case in Giles County. Now that the circulation in the thunderstorm is more organized, it's able to show these mid-level rotations more clearly before it puts something down on the ground. And that's how we've been able to get this tornado warning in the northern parts of Lincoln County, Tennessee. We will hit the reflectivity, zoom out farther, and show you that outside of our storm here in Lincoln County, nothing else is severe. In North Alabama, you're quiet. There are a couple spotty heavy downpours in Limestone and northern Madison County, not remotely close to severe. There's a little rumble of thunder here between Ardmore, Frank Ewing, and eastern Giles County, not remotely close to severe. Another little thunderstorm cell between Columbia over toward about Chapel Hill, moving out of eastern Murray County into Marshall County. That's not severe. From the overall cluster, there's still heavy rain and lightning back in the southern areas of Marshall County, Tennessee. That is the severe cluster, but it's moving away, and the tornado circulation is not in Marshall County, Tennessee. So our main focus we have is northern areas of Lincoln County, Tennessee, where we have this tornado warning on the board until 10:30. I don't think it's going to be there all the way until 10:30 because it's not going to be a long-lived type storm. And National Weather Service also has noted now that the rotation has weakened some, although it is still present. What you do is you can't remove the tornado warning the very minute you get a scan that doesn't show a tight rotation anymore, because these things cycle. They come and they go. What happens is you get a rotation tighten up, either try to produce a tornado or be successful at it, and then the rain-cooled air on the backside of the circulation cuts off the inflow, chokes off the food for the storm pretty much. That circulation gets choked off. It tries to redevelop back closer to the warm, humid air on the east or southeast of the original circulation, and you do that process all over again, and you may do that several times. So just because we don't have something that looks tight and impressive now doesn't mean that we won't have a new circulation rapidly develop 5 or 10 minutes away. So that's one of the right thing to do, even though the rotation is weakened some, is to hold the tornado warning in place. We'll do another storm track with times of arrival from just ahead of that circulation, carrying it east-southeast at 30. Unless it makes a hard right turn, I think this is going to stay to the north of Fayetteville proper. I think it's going to be the northern part of the county here in Lincoln County, Tennessee, we have to worry about. We have a fan track here that gives room for error in case it turns a little right or in case it veers a little to the left. Howell, time of arrival, 9:59. Belleville, 10:03. The Boonville area, 10:13. Mulberry, 10:15. Kelso, 10:21. And Lynchburg, that's out of the viewing area over in the Moore County, but if it holds together that long, it would get near you by around 10:23. But I'm not sure we hold the rotation the entire way to 10:30. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to flip it over to Chase Wilson. Chase, are you mic'd up?
Yes, I am.
We'll let you talk about what you've been seeing behind the scenes as well.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been keeping an eye on this in multiple sources. In fact, just over my shoulder here, you can see our live radar. So we have pretty much everything looking at this right now. And I don't see any evidence right now that we have some significant tornado on the ground. In fact, we'll take a look at radar here at a couple other things. For example, our dual pole correlation coefficient. And we haven't seen anything pop out at us right now. Of course, earlier we were talking about the possibility of it sort of maybe producing something weak back in Giles County or perhaps across the county line. But right now, I think we're in a pretty good spot as far as this is concerned. I still do think there is that danger of a tornado, of course, right here south of Petersburg, because we continue to see that rotation. And, you know, just because it looks weak doesn't mean it's not on the ground, right? I mean, just earlier, whenever that thing was maybe producing something that was eating up some leaves in the forest, it looked pretty weak then, but hey, you never know. That thing could have been on the ground. So we don't want to take any risks with that, right? I don't think you ever want to do that in situations like this, especially at night, you know? I mean, just because it's electrical, I mean, it's very bright, but you don't have any daylight supporting you there. So I would definitely take my tornado precautions there, especially if I'm in Howell, Belleville, and probably in the south side of Petersburg, if I have a Petersburg address on that side of the county line.
Yeah, when it comes to nighttime, things work a little differently than it does the daytime, Chase. You're exactly right.
Absolutely.
And if you've been here in this part of the country for any amount of time, you know that it just, because of the trees and the hills, and then you have dark, and then you have the storms that get wrapped in rain, it's already tough enough to see those during the middle of the day in most tornado situations. During the night time, what you have to do is watch for a lightning strike, and not just any lightning strike. It has to specifically be a lightning strike that's behind the feature that you want to see. The lightning strike has to backlight something. It has to, the wall cloud has to be backlit. The funnel cloud has to be backlit. The tornado has to be backlit. If you get the flash in front of it, that just blinds everything and you never see it. So you cannot wait until you see something. You cannot wait until you hear something. You cannot wait until there's a debris signature on radar, because that doesn't happen before the tornado. That happens after the tornado has already done damage and has lofted debris from the ground up into the air. So you don't wait until there's a debris signature. You go to shelter now. You don't wait until somebody reports damage. You don't wait until somebody sees a tornado, because that could be too late for you, especially with things happening to where you can't see them outside. So all we'll do here at most is at your house waste 5 or 10 minutes of your time this evening. That's a lot better than you risking being injured because you want to be hard-headed and not listen to the warnings and not take shelter. So if you're in this northern part of Lincoln County, Tennessee, the best thing to do is be in your shelter. That does not mean you have to be underground. In almost every single tornado situation you will ever encounter in your life, you won't have to be below ground to survive a situation. Almost every single case, you can survive above ground, even with a direct hit from a strong tornado. And that's not what I think this is. If there is something there, it's very small, likely to be very brief, but it doesn't matter if it's an EF0, an EF5, or anything in between. Every tornado is a threat to life and property. All it has to do is knock a tree down into your living room while you're sitting there watching TV, and a little brief, what the chasers nickname a bird fart, EF0, can do that. And that's a life-threatening situation. So that's why we need you to take the warning seriously. And we still have the hints of the circulation. It's not as tight as it once was, but that's coming up on US 431, a few miles to the northwest of the Howell community, and then dropping east, southeast to southeast. That's going to be moving between Howell and Belleville, it looks like, over the next 10 minutes. We have had the guys scanning the Arctic Air Skycam Pulaski site over to the east, but not able to see anything because, number one, it's dark. Number two, you're not going to backlight something correctly in most cases. And number three, things are going to be rain wrapped here compared to that storm situation we had back on May 20th, where we had some mid-level dry air mixing in and getting storm structure clean. That's not what this is tonight. We're going to have to trust the radar a little more and play things a little more safe than sorry than what we sometimes can do when we have the good structure or when we have daytime. And we'll have to watch that little structure that was on reflectivity back here. There's another curl back here. The original circulation is up into this area, but if you can get things organized back here, you could get a southern circulation develop, and that would be closer to Howell and the north side of Fayetteville if that does try to tighten up. And we'll have to watch that. You watch that over the course of a couple of radar scans to look for consistency and to look for trends. But for you at home, the message is, if you're in northern areas of Lincoln County, you need to be going through a tornado safety plan if you haven't already. A basement, storm shelter, storm cellar, if you have it, is great. That's tremendous. That's the best place you can be, but you don't have to be below ground. Small interior room, such as a bathroom, a hallway, or a closet on the lowest floor of a site-built type building, not a mobile home. Don't get out in your vehicle, that type of thing, but a site-built structure. Be away from windows. Cover your head and neck to protect yourself from flying debris. If you're down a few miles out off to the east, southeast of it, and you know where your shelter is, if you live in a mobile home, you know right where it is. It takes you 5 minutes or less to get there. Yeah, go ahead and head on out to your shelter. But if you're right near that circulation, it's kind of too late. Since this will be a lower end type thing, the best thing to do is just hunker down, cover your head and neck from flying debris. And in most cases, with it being a really marginal situation, you're going to be fine. Now, if it was a stronger tornado, which this is not, that may not be the case. And that's why in stronger tornado situations, it's so important to plan ahead. But when you have these marginal things, that's not often possible because things can pop up at random. And this is the type of situation where you're not going to see homes demolished and things like that. If there is a tornado here, it would be the smaller variety, very short-lived, but that doesn't make it not dangerous. So that's why you need to take the tornado warning seriously. Again, the main concern is to the north of Fayetteville, up here from Howell up to the south side of Petersburg, over to Belleville, and eventually toward the Mulberry area. But the tornado warning polygon goes as far south as the Fayetteville, Tennessee area, especially the north and east sides here, and it goes over toward the Boonsville, Tennessee area as well. We'll see how they handle that over the next several minutes. Looking to see if we see any reports or anything I see. All right, what National Weather Service is going to do is, since the rotation has weakened and broadened so much, they're going to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning for Lincoln County, Tennessee. Let that replace the tornado warning that's in effect, and they're going to cancel the tornado warning. They're in the process of drawing that up and getting ready to do that. So what's going to happen effectively for you at home, this is going to be a downgrade from a tornado warning to a severe thunderstorm warning. We're still going to have to watch it in case the rotation tries to tighten up, but we've watched it for several scans now where it's been there, but it's been a lot weaker and a lot broader, and that's been the general trend without it trying to tighten up. So what you hear beeping is a new severe thunderstorm warning coming for north central areas of Lincoln County, Tennessee, in our viewing area. It may go over into Moore County or some of the other counties as well. The only county in our viewing area that's impacted by the warning is Lincoln County, Tennessee. That's going to be for Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin counties in Tennessee. So for those of you east of the viewing area in Moore and Franklin counties, you now have a severe thunderstorm warning. Tornado warning is going to be taken off the board here with the rotation weakening. It's still the same communities that we called out: Howell, Belleville, Boonsville, down to Mulberry, and the northeast side of Fayetteville, and over toward the Kelso area, and then over into Moore and Franklin counties. New severe thunderstorm warning. That is going to go until 11 o'clock, damaging straight line winds up to 60 miles per hour and the possibility of quarter-size hail. Should the rotation tighten back up, they will be ready to issue a tornado warning if it's needed, but if it continues to look like that, that won't be the case. So with this being downgraded and the tornado warning getting ready to be canceled, we're going to go ahead and end the continuous coverage. We'll watch it behind the scenes very carefully. Should additional warnings be issued, we'll come back at a moment's notice. Should anything look like a tornado is rapidly forming or a new tornado warning is issued, we are ready to be back at a moment's notice with live weather coverage. For Chase Wilson, I'm Fred Gossage, live from the Tennessee Valley Weather Center. Stay with Tennessee Valley Weather. We'll keep you advised.